You remember this stuff called Play-Doh? Actually, Play-Doh was originally made as a wallpaper cleaning liquid. And as people stopped using fires, there was less a need for it. And it was a playful thing that it became a toy. And it's become very popular in classrooms, kindergartens, and more recently in boardrooms. I did an exercise this week with the health workers, and they took 3 bits of Play-Doh. They created an image of the problem they were trying to solve. They created an image of the desired state that they'd like to see in terms of what success looked like. And then in the middle, they created what some of the mechanisms were in order to make that happen through play. A lot of inventions, some of our most important inventions, didn't happen through design. They actually happened through accident and a curious mind and a playful mind. Wilhelm was playing around with cathode ray tubes and saw on the wall that there was a light. And playfully putting his hand out in front to try and interrupt the light, then saw his hand as an X-ray, and so began the X-ray. It wasn't until quite a bit later on the negative effects of radiation were then discovered. So yeah, that unexpected consequence of play. Play is incredibly valuable to us. It's been part of our evolutionary success, and if it wasn't important to us, it would have been bred out long ago. Coming out of the last financial crisis, brands that had strong brand equity were the ones that came back fastest and strongest and rebuilt greater than they were before. And that brand equity, the recent brands report shows, actually is based in creativity and play. So it has very, very real value in terms of our survival, and it also has a real value in terms of businesses and corporations and organizations moving forward. We are in a time now of 2 things happening together. One is sameness. Things haven't really changed for many, many years. We still get up, go to work, go to school, we take short holidays, we come back, watch TV. Many of our institutions are much the same as they were 100 years ago. Many of those systems were created in a different time, but are still with us. And alongside that sameness, we've also got change. And what we do know about that change is that it's coming faster and it's increasingly complex. And it's increasingly taking us outside of our comfort zone into areas where we have no maps, we have no directions, and for many, it's causing anxiety and fear. And when we're in a state of fear, as we've already talked about today, we go into a fight-flight reaction, and our peripheral vision quite literally narrows as our thinking goes back to that spinal stem, really, and our alternatives become smaller, and our thinking becomes really quite unproductive, or less creative, certainly. So in terms of navigating this unknown, how do we do it if we don't know what it is? And we certainly know that what we don't know is far bigger than what we know. I think we also know that the answers for our future are not known, and they sit in that unknown space. So how do we navigate that? How do we start to interrogate that? And I want to put forward the case for play. This is a picture of me this year in India. I got out one day before the airport closed, fortunately, and then went into 2 weeks of quarantine. This is at the Taj Mahal, and I'm jumping for joy, and I'm jumping just because I can, and for the pure exhilaration of it. I put this image here because it describes the leap. And Plato, many, many years ago, was one to talk about play as defined in the leap. And I don't know if you can see here, child jumping off the step and landing. And what Plato talked about with the leap was, in order to leap successfully, you both have to leverage the surface on which you're jumping, understanding how your body's balance is working, and then use the ground to land safely and to remain standing and to continue forward. Now, this leap is not something that's ever taught to us. It's something that we take on, like riding a bicycle, through play, through trial and error, and an optimism around the future. Here's another example, I'll just get out of the way for this, of grandfather and grandson playing. Now, I love this image because the child hasn't been successful in the goal of getting the ball into the arms of the grandfather. However, the grandfather is smiling, laughing, the child laughs and is happy to start again, hasn't been intimidated, and is open to this playful, opportunistic moment. Play, I think, has been misunderstood within the corporate and organizational environments. It's often seen as frivolous. It's certainly something that's not been able to be measured, and therefore, because it hasn't been able to be measured, it's hard to manage. It's seen as chaotic, and some may even question, its dark side. For some, people see the opposite of work as play. Research has shown very clearly that actually the opposite of play is depression. And when we're depressed, we no longer can see opportunity. Every problem, every solution seems to have a problem when one's depressed. However, when in play, every problem magnificently has multiple solutions. And there's lots of very simple activities that can be done that take 2 or 3 minutes, including one with Play-Doh, that can stimulate play and help us to get back in touch with our playful selves, because it was something that almost all of us did. Now, there is one thing around play, and I mentioned it earlier, that when you're in fear, you can't be in play. When you're in fear, it's very hard to learn, and when you're in fear, it's very hard to be creative. So one of the challenges moving forward for organizations, I think, who want to really bring play into their companies, is to learn how to create safe spaces for people, how to take care of those basic human needs, and once feeling safe, to explore, to play, to make mistakes, and then to learn how to harness those ideas and to synthesize them and to build on them, because no idea generally comes out fully formed. They're usually tiny little shoots that can wither away and die easily if they're not watered and nurtured. So the ideas that spring from play require that nurturing to be brought forward. Play provides environments where happy accidents can happen, happy accidents like the X-ray, happy accidents like the creation of penicillin. So we need to create environments that are safe. We need to create environments that are more playful. We need to learn more techniques, I think, simple techniques that bring laughter and enjoyment and playfulness in life. And then to harness those fruits and to get rid of those that maybe aren't appropriate. What was the famous quote around the light bulbs? Creating 1,000 light bulbs that didn't work, but it's part of that process. So my proposal is that we need to be playing more. We need to be laughing more. We need to be having more fun. We need to be less serious, and we need to be taking that leap. You know, we're all prisoners of hope, and we need to be setting off and embracing that future, feeling into it, and exploring.